Okay, so I got away from all my dogs. My dogs are really upset right now and are hard to control. I have to keep them all separated. My one of the dogs that we took back is in heat, and that can last like 3 weeks. So it's really just frustrating for everybody involved. But they'll be fine again after that. Um, so today we're doing the Q and A early on a Monday instead of Tuesday. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. We're gonna go over some stuff. Um, we're gonna use the anatomy app. I've had some questions, and I wanted to bring up what anybody knows about gallbladder referred pain. Also, um, another one. A lot of people have been having shoulder aches. A lot of them. And I'm trying to think of what other complaints. I know there was that one. And then there was another one. Well, I saw it, but we'll go ahead and we'll open the app. So gallbladder referred pain, a lot of people get pain like in their back side on the right behind their shoulder into their ribs, but they're not active people. They're usually like middle-aged, still working. They could be at a desk or driving, doing whatever it is that they do. But we're gonna just open up this app, Complete Anatomy, and then we're gonna be concentrated on looking at the nerves. Oh yeah, paresthetica, meralgia paresthetica also. I think it's called paresthetica meralgia, or it's basically, we're going to do that too, so we'll go over that. But referred pain with how the nerves are arranged. When I was in chiropractic school, many of them said, if you feel pain, which is abnormal and you don't really work out or do anything different, and it happens to be right here in the inferior angle of the scapula, that could be referred pain from your gallbladder. Because if it's not in your intercostals, nerves that happen to exit, let's see if we can see it right in here. The dorsal root ganglion shares visceral nerve sensations with the same somatic or muscles of that region. So we could just add the nervous system right now and just look and see why that is the case. And we're looking for that dorsal root ganglion, posterior ramus also. And then here's one, posterior ramus, the 7th. Now let's go ahead and add the digestive tract, because they have it listed here as that, for the liver and the gallbladder. Oh, I guess not. Okay. Well, then we'll add the endocrine system. That's weird. What's going on here? That is... Oh yeah, we're up too high, but... So the lungs, for some odd reason, we feel it in our inferior angle, especially when we're hunched forward. I mean, these are just things they told us, which, when you think about it, because the lungs are up here, the liver's right here, so you wonder, why would it be referred? Well, with hunching over, the scapulothoracic angle of movement of the scapula as it moves over the ribs into protraction, retraction, elevation in abduction or flexion. Whenever you are hunched forward, I'll start to hunch forward too. So, and then let's just look at these nerve roots. We're just going to map it out, why it is. Here's the bile duct, and we're going to find that's the duodenum. It's emptying out from the gallbladder, and it's right here. This is the gallbladder, but we got that peritoneum right there, which that could be painful if you have a leakage into that, if the stretch receptors are stretching it. There's a test for that. So this is the gallbladder, and then we're going to go ahead and hide the liver. Let's just hide it. And the diaphragmatic part of the peritoneum. So we'll just, we'll hide this too. And then we're just going to trace all these nerves along where they're coming from. So as we can see, there is a nerve going. So this is covering, and it's the hepatic plexus going through the liver. But whenever they synapse at the spinal cord, it's all dorsal root. You have some going upward more. Let's get them. Well, since it's a plexus, it's intermingled with a network of other nerves, which send off sensory patterns. Let's go ahead and make sure we added all the layers. Okay. And then we'll try to... so that's really not... Okay. So the gallbladder right here, this is like the seventh rib. Seventh rib overlays it. See how it's going across? And when we saw that the scapula, look at this nerve, the intercostal nerve of the seventh rib, seventh intercostal nerve. And then here's the nerve sensory to the gallbladder, keeping track of the gallbladder. It can start to get intertwined. Look at this plexus right there. Seventh. Okay. Now we're going to turn it around. So we saw that this nerve root's coming out like right here. So this is the seventh dorsal root, and then we saw that the seventh rib, as it's coming, well, that's the eighth one, the seventh rib on the top of the seventh vertebrae, eighth one on the bottom, is going to wrap around and reach in front at the gallbladder. So that's how it can refer pain. So some people are surprised. I had somebody with their gallbladder removed, and it's so common now. This is the seventh rib. This is the this should be the seventh. Oh, it's a sixth ramus, so it's below it. Right in here, that's the seventh. Intercostal nerve. And then, so this should be the seventh thoracic vertebrae, yeah, because it's leaving under it. And we'll just follow this little nerve. Here's the seventh rib. Okay. Now, what's this nerve? Collateral branch of the seventh intercostal rib. And then get in there a little bit closer. Sharing with the intercostal nerve. You can even cry. You can see how far down it's shaped. All of our ribs going down at an angle, kind of like being tree branches or something like that. Our rib cage is shaped. And that's the seventh intercostal nerve. And then here's the intermingling with the plexus of the liver and the gallbladder. You can see the gallbladder anterior part, the posterior part, hepatic duct, left hepatic duct. Okay, so the bile from the gallbladder, if you think it might be gallbladder referred pain, after you eat a fatty meal, 30 minutes afterwards, you have like intense abdominal pain, diarrhea, indigestion, and curled over, because your bile duct is clogged with stones in it, and it's sending off signals of pain, sensory motor. It's all getting processed in the back of the vertebrae, right through here in the dorsal ramus. So that was the so this one. So this was the seventh rib. Okay, yeah, so right in there. So it's the angle of the scapula, but it's actually because of all this interconnection right there. You can have referred pain. So if you are having problems with digestion, 30 minutes afterwards, your bile duct is sending out those enzymes. It's trying to send bile that it stores from the liver to your duodenum of your intestine so that it can digest the fats and proteins with the pancreatic enzymes as well, because that's where that happens. And if it's clogged, you're going to have a lot of those fats and proteins have to go somewhere once they go into the small, and it's going to send intense pain, and then you're going to get diarrhea or something similar. But a lot of people have it removed, no problem. They just have to make adjustments. Now let's talk about this other pain that people get. They'll get it in the front of their leg. Now that is lateral cutaneous nerve, anterior lateral cutaneous nerve. And what happens is, as the nerves are leaving the body and they go through the pelvis right here in the front, there's a femoral triangle. Let's see if that's the femoral nerve. The femoral nerve, yes. Femoral nerve right there, but we're looking for the other one as well. There's another one. It might be a branch of it, but it's actually a cutaneous nerve. It's lateral femoral cutaneous nerve. Yeah, so then there's an anterior and whatnot, but nerve, and as it supplies, because the femoral nerve duct, a little triangle where there's the vein and the artery supplying the thigh. That's because we can add the arteries and the veins. And right here, right in there, there's a femoral triangle. It makes enough room. If it's too cramped, because this is the top of your pubis bone, here your adductors start to wrap around to, and then the pubis bone right here, the adductor is right in there. This can get compressed with the muscles that go through there. Well, let's just look at the muscles too. But let's have the lymphatics as well. See that they all run together. And now, if you're wearing a tight girdle, you have a heavy stomach or tight undergarments, they can compress all. Yeah, they can give you peripheral edema in the ankles because the veins compress, emptying excess fluid, as well as the lymphatics. And then the artery supplying the blood to the leg can get ischemia to the muscles if it's compressed. And then the nerve also tingling, shooting, sharp numbness, tingling from this compression. So always wear stuff that's comfortable. And then you won't have that from the cut off oxygen supply and the arteries, and then the fluid getting trapped, not having enough circulation or movement for the lymphatics, and the vein, which is emptying the bottom of the legs. But that lateral cutaneous nerve. What was it right there? Okay. Lateral femoral cutaneous. Okay, yeah, and then they have the anterior branch. Okay, so those are the muscular ones. And then let's just look at those muscles also as they attach. So behind it, we have the adductor. And then this right here is the obturator externus. Now let's see another muscle there. Also behind it is the obturator externus. Again, another look at that. Abductor brevis, longus. So the adductors are behind it. And then we start more muscles. So this one is our vastus medialis. That's right in there. And then adductor longus. And we have, okay, that goes into the reproductive region. And then we also have the pyramidalis muscle, which isn't in everyone, but it's part of the abdominal rectus muscle. Let's add another muscle layer. All right, this one, vastus intermedius, those are the quads, the medialis or obliquus, then the intermedius, and then we'll add another one. Tensor fasciae, gluteus minimus, vastus lateralis. Now, still haven't gotten any muscles underlaying it, but now we're starting to get into some muscles overlaying it right here. The rectus femoris. If you have a tight rectus femoris from doing knee extensions, that can compress the vein, the femoral vein, the femoral artery, the femoral nerve, as well as some of the lymphatics, not a whole. And then, so knee extensions, you've got to stretch those. You're going to have to stretch those so that they're not compressing too much on them. And then we have, let's add some more muscle. All right, R starts the femoral for flexing and medially rotating the leg at the knee. Okay. And then it assists in flexion, abduction, and lateral rotation of thigh and hip. So you would want to stretch that out by doing adduction, right? Okay, so it assists in flexion, abduction, and lateral rotation of thigh to hip joint. That would also just get stretched whenever you stretch your core. But you can also move your leg at a certain angle to stretch that, because you definitely don't want that to be too tight, or else it's going to compress your femoral triangle and give you some compressive pain. And also peripheral edema over time. And that there. Okay. So another one is whenever your middle of your leg right in here gets compressed and you get pain. That can be from childbirth, because the obturator externus, I believe it is, when the birth canal is widened and you're making room for the baby's head, it can block the obturator perineal nerve. That's too far into the reproductive. We'll find it. It is in here somewhere, and we can search for it. So we'll go ahead and search for it. The obturator nerve. Oh, it's worse whenever you try looking for it in an actual cadaver lab, because then you have to go through everything. You might cut through it and not everything's gray. Oh, we did the left one. Okay, let's do the right one. Okay. Where's it at? Reader nerve. Let's see it. Isolate it out. Come on, let's see it. All right, here it is. It's on the inside. That birth canal gets stretched, supplying the obturator, I believe, internus, externus. What it says, obturator and externus adductors, nervus longus, gracilis, pectineus, and other adductor magnus. It's sensory, so you won't be able to feel, and it's also motor, that region of the thigh. There's branches to it, but it's not showing it actually supply the little region of the inner thigh. Okay, we'll go back. Now, a lot of people have been having this shoulder pain. So the shoulder pain, so many muscles in here, so many compressions. If you have shoulder pain, the brachial plexus, if you happen to have a tight, this is the platysma, right? Oh, no, okay, this overlaying one's the platysma. Okay, so we'll remove that. That is a facial expression muscle, cranial nerve 7. We'll go ahead with that. But some compression sites from the brachial plexus, C5 through T1, going under the clavicle. Well, it's actually going through the anterior middle scalenes right here. And then it goes under the clavicle, over the first rib, runs with the veins and the arteries, supplying the hand or removing waste from the arm and hand. And then under the coracoid process, so if you have a tight pec minor, that can compress it. Also tight pecs, but let's go into the pec minor. We'll go ahead and hide that, and then here's the pec minor. Let's go ahead and look in there. It's attaching to the coracoid process right here, the scapula. And then you also have the coracobrachialis muscle, the short head of the biceps attached. You have really tight biceps, or you have a tight pec minor, you would want to stretch those. The pec minor is a little bit tricky because it is the pec, but you have to stretch it a certain way. It protracts and downwardly rotates pectoral shoulder girdle at the acromioclavicular and shoulder joints, but it's actually attached to the coracoid process. Here is the AC joint above, right there. So the deltoids could be really tight along the arm, so you could stretch those to alleviate pressure as well, so the clavicle can lift up. Otherwise, if it's really tight, it's pulling down the clavicle side, as well as this subclavius muscle, which also overlays the brachial plexus, and it attaches to the first rib, where the brachial plexus is right here under it. So for this one, you would have to stretch that too, but it stabilizes the clavicle, so you would just have to maybe do some breathing exercises while you have your arms up or down. So stretching your play with it, see what happens, because it's really just like a breathing muscle, so that it can take pressure off your neurovascular supply right here, the artery, the vein, the lymphatics, and the brachial plexus. And then so stretch that pec minor. That's a compression site. And then you're going to want to in the back, with all the shoulder pain that radiates all around here. So we want to stretch the upper and the middle traps, right? Okay. But under here with the protraction, we have the, let's remove the deltoids. Definitely want to stretch the shoulder muscles, the deltoids. Whenever you strengthen your upper traps, that's going to help to lift the clavicle up. And that's one way to alleviate pressure if it is being compressed at your scalenes. Also, stretch the scalenes, moving your muscles the opposite way that it says it. So right here is the anterior, the clavicle. Oh, this is the sternoclavicle, but is another layer that for the. Oh, it's actually right here. That's the. scalene right here. Stretching that one because it says to flex, rotate, and lateral neck. You would have to stretch it the opposite way. You would flex the opposite. You would extend and then flex it the opposite way. So if you're going to stretch this anterior, extend, you would rotate the opposite way and this way to stretch this one. And that would take pressure off the brachial plexus from the front to get in the back. You would do the opposite of the middle scalenes or scalenus medius, which says to laterally flex neck and elevate the first rib. So if you have a rib that's out of place, you would also want to strengthen this muscle too, because that'll help push that rib out. But if you're getting compressed brachial plexus, because it is between the first rib and the clavicle, you would definitely want to stretch that out so it's not pulling up on the first rib and compressing the brachial plexus and neurovascular supply from under the clavicle. So stretching. Don't ever forget, stretching is vital to soft tissue alleviation of adhesions and knots and scar tissue fibrosis. It will help to improve neurovascular and in your body. Don't forget to stretch. Do deep stretches. Stretching is part of body work and part of massage therapy. Combined with massage therapy, it helps to eliminate inflammation and alleviate pain throughout the whole body. So those were just a few compression sites. As well, whenever we get under the scapula, because where the brachial plexus is, let's go ahead and look at the serratus anterior. Okay, that's a vital muscle to shoulder movement because you're protracting your arm, and it is actually attached to the medial side next to the subscapularis, under the scapula, as well as the first 9 ribs laterally, so that when it twists and pulls, when it tightens, it's going to protract, push your arm forward, while all the other assist in keeping this the glenoid fossa there. Because if you have any muscles adding more work to the other, it's going to lead to displacement in one direction. The one that's weaker will have the more displacement of the humeral head to lift it up. If you have bony arthritis and maybe had a chronic condition where you ruptured your subscapularis muscle as it's going under this AC joint and attaching right here, that could lead to some pain when you're lifting in certain motions because you no longer have that added force keeping the humeral head in its socket. You have scar tissue to help protect and leave it there along with all the other fibrous tissue. But you're going to have to strengthen your other muscles so that they can start working on your shoulder to keep them in. And you can strengthen your shoulder muscles. Okay, so this one assists in 5 to 15 degrees of flexion. If you don't have that to lift it up, you could just lean your body up and then lift the opposite way. And that'll strengthen your deltoids. And then deltoids will help pull your arm into the humeral socket, the glenoid fossa socket, as well as strengthening your biceps because they attach to that side of the scapula so that it can push the humeral head into the socket. Your external rotators, working on those, flex those more, stretch those out because you don't want those to be too tight that they're pulling the humeral head glenoid fossa now that supraspinatus is ruptured and no longer holding it from the top. So you'll have to strengthen. You basically just have to strengthen every muscle around your arm. If you're just strengthening or stretching every muscle all the time, then you really have nothing to worry about. But that's really very time consuming. And if you think you work out in the gym enough for 2 hours, no, you're going to be in there like 4 hours because that's what you'd have to do. But you don't have to do that all the time. Just if you're overusing those parts of your body, like the shoulder, overhead work, sports, and then wear comfortable clothes. You will pay for it. You're worth looking good. Do not sacrifice your health to look good, okay? Wear comfortable clothing. That's all you have to do, okay? Do not have to have it super tight. That leads to neurovascular compression, gastrointestinal tract compression, reproductive tract compression. And then if you're just not moving all the time and nothing's flowing like shit, just know that that is not the good state of health to be in, because you're going to have long-term repercussions. Okay, that's just how it is. Unless you were designed that way, you should try to maybe just do your best to be what design you were made to be, because not everyone can be unrealistic body types. Okay, all right. So that's it for today. I'm going to close that and then I'll stop streaming. I'm probably not going to stream anything tomorrow unless some other questions come up, but you can always email me at my website, Janice at themassagenegotiator.com. All right. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.